Hiya, Honest Discussioner here. How's everybody doing? Angry Drunken Theist on YouTube, and no, this is not about free will, posted an article from HuffPost entitled, An Ironclad Proof of God. Well, I mean, he posted it to Facebook, but since I'm not doc-dropping him, I'm referring to him as ADT. In it, Rabbi Adam Jacobs argues that, of course, the cosmological argument, or the prime mover argument, is so dreadfully foolproof that we can basically pack it in on the God question. The answer is yes, there is a God, and now we can just focus on which one. Well, I regret to inform you that this particular defense I find to be even worse than the Kalam cosmological argument proposed by Craig et al. Maybe on a factual level it's no worse, but it's far more arrogant and includes what is an ironclad case of intellectual dishonesty. You can read the full article in the underbar below if you want to follow along, but I'll be reading the relevant points to you here. The rabbi says at one point, for instance, inasmuch as there must be an ultimate non-contingent force, its non-contingency indicates that, as held in monotheism, it must be singular. For if there were more than one mover, each would be limited and hence contingent. I see no reason to believe that this follows. The idea of multiple spacetimes would seem to refute this statement. He continues, such a force would also need to be immaterial, as material things are changeable and therefore contingent. Again, doesn't follow. If it did, then one could not say that this universe is part of God in any way, nor could Jesus be allowed, as this is a change in the form of God, or an addition to the form of God, and thus goes against this definition. Even the Jewish version of God seems to change, or at least change his mind. It's okay, though, since it doesn't follow, this doesn't disprove monotheism, luckily for the rabbi. Later on, he goes, inasmuch as that would include all powers, we would conclude that this being is all-powerful and all-knowledgeable. This guy's brain must have grown legs, because he is quite adept at leaps in logic. There is no reason to conclude this entity, should it exist, is even conscious. All that requires of it is the ability to somehow enable a scenario in which this universe exists. That's it. It doesn't need all powers, nor does it entail that it contains any knowledge at all. Let's see here. Now he continues again. The reality is that most versions of the argument do not depend on particular scientific claims in any way, in which my response would be, of course they don't. Those scientific evidences refute the argument of the prime mover. Another thing that he argues, it's not a God of the gaps argument. It is not intended to plug a hole in our scientific knowledge or be asserted as a best explanation for evidence. Except it is. As I pointed out, there are possible conceptions that would allow for the universe to be created by itself. The concept alone shows that this is relying on there being no other way, which is at very least a variation on the God of the gaps argument. Later on, the rabbi says, it seems to me that an open-minded thinker, free of biases and misconceptions, would have no choice but to acknowledge the veracity of this argument. And it seems to me that he's making an argument then running a victory lap without hearing any rebuttals, as if he couldn't have made any mistakes along the way. That's right, our rabbi spends not merely a sentence, but an entire paragraph patting himself on the back at how awesome and irrefutable his logic is, and how silly it seems that anyone could find a flaw in what he said. Oh, but fear not. The rabbi knows why people just don't accept his perfect logic. He'll prove it to you with an ironclad quote mine. The final word that he gives is an out-of-context quote from Thomas Nagel, a very well-known professor, who in the last word, you can check this out in the underbar, is discussing the nature of reason itself, citing that he prefers the idea of empiricism to that which would, in his mind, lead to Platonic harmony as an explanation for reason. Reason, he opines, makes people nervous to think that it is that it has some sort of foundation in this Platonic manner. However, this is what the rabbi pulls from it. I speak from experience, being strongly subject to this fear myself. I want atheism to be true, and I am made uneasy by the fact that some of the most intelligent and well-informed people I know are religious believers. It isn't just that I don't believe in God, and naturally hope that I am right in my belief. It's that I hope there is no God. I don't want there to be a God. I don't want the universe to be that way, or to be like that. So, from that, it sounds like he's saying that he does not want the universe to have been created. He doesn't want this universe to be like that. That's what it sounds like to me if you just read that paragraph. However, here's the preceding quote. The thought that the relation between mind and the world is something fundamental makes many people in this day and age nervous. I believe this is one manifestation of a fear of religion in which the large and often pernicious consequences for modern intellectual life. Which has large and often pernicious consequences for modern intellectual life. So Nagel is in no way discussing anything to do with the cosmological argument, and this rabbi is attempting to make it seem as though he's simply afraid to admit the veracity of it by ending the quote at, "I don't want the universe to be that way." I'll admit it's not truly an ironclad case of dishonesty, hence putting ironclad in quotes as I did before. However, Rabbi Jacob's only refuge from the label dishonest is a choice between lazy and ignorant. I do tend to lean towards him being dishonest. After all, he should be aware he could have posted that quote in response to any argument he made to make it seem like atheists are just too scared to see reason. It's an underhanded move if I've ever seen one. Claim victory and then show the poor, scared atheist who clearly is just denying God out of some childish emotional hang-up. I am truly, completely disgusted by this display. Have a nice day. Honest Discussioner, out.